Are you going to a job interview? Did you know that the STAR method generally has a huge capacity to get you approved? Well, I'm going to give you 5 foolproof tips for you to apply the STAR method in your interviews, and you will certainly be approved. Hello, how are you? I'm Romulo Gutierrez. This is the Job Room channel, and I've been a recruiter and selector for 28 years. And today I'm going to teach you how to apply the STAR method in your job interviews. First tip, or the first question where you can apply the STAR method. Every time the recruiter says, "Tell me about a time when you had to deal with," then comes a situation, an irritated client, a technology you didn't master, a goal you had to reach and weren't managing to. So these situations end up varying a lot depending on the position. You will use exactly the STAR response methodology: situation, task, action, and result. I'll give an example here. Let's suppose I'm a logistics manager, and then they ask me, "Tell me about a situation where you had to deal with a shipment that was late and the client was complaining." Technical question. And then I go straight to the STAR methodology. Look, there was a situation where I had to deliver 2,000 units of the iPhone 17 Pro Max at the shipping company where I worked. And due to some traffic problem, this truck was delayed by more than an hour and a half. My task at first, upon receiving the client's complaint, you go into detail, my task was to contact the driver to understand what was happening, and he told me he was stuck in very heavy traffic. From there, I took an action. The action was to do some online research to create alternative routes for him. I did this research, sent the alternative routes, and he managed to get to the port, of course, with a delay of almost 2 hours and 15 minutes, but we reduced the loss and the client's dissatisfaction. So, every time I deal with this type of issue, I try to remain calm and create important solutions so that the client is not affected. So, you have to tell these stories in a situation, task, action, and result manner. And there can be variations of this depending on your field. Second important tip, remember there are 5 in total. So the second one, always try to use examples that are focused on the job description. I always say this, for any job interview you have, try to highlight the key words, the key competencies for the position. So you're going for an interview, the position is for a pharmacy manager. Before you go to the interview, what's my recommendation? Take the job description, read it very carefully on your phone, choose 2, 3, or even 4 technical keywords that best define the position. Technical keywords that best define the position. And from there, you'll think about the examples you'll have to share related to that, okay? Never be too rhetorical in an interview. Those people who talk and talk and talk say they know things, but have no examples. Keep this in mind. When you provide examples based on the key words from the job description, something magical happens in your interview. The recruiter or the area manager who's interviewing you listens and thinks, "This person will definitely be competent for the tasks I have here." They see you in the role, they envision you in the position, and that makes all the difference. Giving STAR examples is important. Associating the STAR examples with the 4 or 5 key competencies of the job is just as important, and that will elevate the level of your interview. I'm moving on to the third tip. But before I get to the third tip, if you'd like to simulate an interview, practice an interview to see if you're doing well with your answers, all live and online, you're going to click the link here in the description, okay? You'll click the link and you'll land in a 100% secure Hotmart environment, which is a world-renowned platform. There you can choose your time slot, the number of interview sessions, and make your purchase right there with all of Hotmart's refund policies, okay? And we'll have a meeting or 2 or 3 meetings for us to practice the interview. Here on the Job Room channel, there are new videos every Wednesday. So subscribe and leave a like. Third fundamental tip, you can also use a variation of the STAR method. The STAR method. situation, task, action, and result. Some people vary it and are more direct. They work with the PAR method. The PAR method is problem, action, and result. Problem, action, and result. So instead of telling the situation, task, action, and result, you can go with problem, action, and result. Something more concise, something smaller. For example, I'm the manager of a toy store, and they ask me, tell me about a time when a customer made a public complaint on the internet because of poor service from your team. If that happened, what would you do? There's no point in just being rhetorical, talking, and explaining. Let's get to the situation. Look, at the last store I worked at, B-Mart, there was a problem where a customer bought a drone for his son, a toy drone for his son, and this drone had a factory defect. Problem. And this customer notified me by phone about this problem. I asked the customer to come to the store and told him I would contact the manufacturer so we could resolve it in the best way possible, especially because the warranty period had already expired after he contacted me. He waited a long time to make contact, and he went and made a public complaint on Google. My action, problem, action, it was to contact the manufacturer and identify what was happening. The manufacturer gave a very long deadline to resolve it. I contacted the headquarters of B-Mart where I worked, asking for a quick solution. And B-Mart asked me to immediately exchange that customer's drone for another one because we, as the store, would resolve it with the manufacturer. I contacted him of an action and asked him to come to the store. And there I proposed a deal. He would remove the complaint and I would give him a new drone right away. And that was the result. He removed the complaint and we were able to solve the problem. Problem, action, and result. You can be more direct in your answer. That's an interesting tip as well. And another tip that I think is very important in our lesson on behavioral questions for the STAR method is to always have your repertoire of examples, your collection of stories for your interview. Okay? Yes, I usually say that. All good candidates in a job interview are not surprised by the questions. Remember one thing, improvising is a recipe for rejection. Every time you improvise too much in your interview, you're likely to be rejected. I'm not telling you to memorize everything. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is very simple. Read the job description, circle the 3, 4, or 5 keywords. Once you've circled them at home or on your way to your interview, you'll think of 2 or 3 STAR or PAR examples to share. So you think of examples according to the job's competencies. And then what does your goal become? Besides confidently answering the job interview questions, you're going to challenge yourself to use the following phrase. For example, so you answer, he says to me, tell me your strengths. Well, a strength of mine is that I'm very communicative and persuasive. I'll give you an example, and then I come in with an example that aligns with the keywords I selected and with real stories that I've already prepared at home. All candidates have a great treasure trove of stories to bring to the interview. Short stories, just 2 minutes. Stories related to the job's competencies. And stories using the PAR or STAR method. That's up to you. I'm positive you'll get hired in your job interview. In fact, if I mentioned a question that gets a lot of candidates rejected, it's precisely the question. Tell me about your strengths and weaknesses. And I've left a complete video for you to watch right here to understand how to talk about your strengths and weaknesses. Go check it out. It'll help you a lot. I wish you an excellent preparation for your interview. I'm rooting for you. All the best and see you next time. Bye.